Welcome into the stream. All right, let's get this ball rolling. So we're going to start out by looking at some levels real quick right before we get into really anything. Obviously, we're about a handful of minutes before the open. Going to take a look at what we're going to see really starting to develop on both ES and NQ. So first and foremost, we have this gap higher, and now we have traded back into this gap. If we go ahead and take a measurement of this, we can see that on ES, we're about halfway through this gap. About 50% is where we're kind of still extending. Let's see right here. Yeah, just rejecting the 50%. NQ, on the other hand, is a little bit stronger. You can see that we're actually above that swing point. Now looking at somewhat of a break and retest right here. This point needs to be defended. So essentially, we're going to be watching how we react versus the 600. Now, our near-term action, we can see that we've started to range at the highs. We've swept out a high right here. We swept out a low right here. So we're ranging at the highs. The question is whether or not we will see that push of momentum to the upside or the downside at the open. Now, looking over here at top one, get our level set up here. Yeah, realistically, we want to just see if we're going to continue this trend or if we're going to fade this momentum. That's a real question. I do like the idea of a fade given this kind of push right here. However, that by itself is not really a thesis. We have a couple things working in our favor. Number one, we did sweep out this high. So again, it's either going to be this break and retest of this level, or we're going to simply look for this to be the failed break. Now, those are the two main core ideas that we have. It could either go up or down, right? Like that's typically how this works. But yeah, where we're at right now, we're going to wait until the open. We're going to wait until we see some sort of defining structure before we go ahead and move on it. But yeah, as it currently stands, we're just watching. Really, it's going to be how we react versus number one, 600, and also this previous swing right here. This prior high. Going to be observing this right here. So again, yeah, these are the levels we're really looking at. We want to make sure that everything is nice and dialed in. As far as news goes today, I believe we only have JOLTS. Jobs at 10. Let's see. Yeah, JOLTS is at 10 a.m. Eastern. So first 30 could be a little bit slower. And then we see that actual move develop on the release, or that can simply just accentuate whatever we're already seeing happen in price. So after this rejection that we saw from the highs, you can kind of take a fib. So basically from the swing point down to here. And you can see that roughly 61.8% retracement, pretty much on the dot. So that's a scenario I have in mind. If this is the high, this is the low, and this is the pullback, it's roughly 61.8. It's definitely 50%. Easy right there. So that's like my main idea. We are pretty extended from any sort of VWAP, any sort of structure. Yeah, you can see VWAP's a little ways away. So goal for today is just have a nice, simple trade, probably around the open. If not, it's going to be around 10 a.m. Here we are. So we're seeing some pretty New York volatility. It looks like we did start to close this gap, and then we rallied back above, testing again this recent high and that fib retracement level. Now, I'm going to be watching this into the open, basically that 585 area. I want to see whether or not this is actually going to sustain a hold or if we're going to see that return back into the range. Here's our hourly chart. Looks like we tagged into an hourly fair value gap. So it could very well be that we stay where we're at. But we are seeing this momentum right before the open, which is normally going to be an indication that it might do the opposite. It's rare that we start running and then immediately just goes. Normally this will be like the fake because it's a minute or so before the open. Very whippy, very whippy. If you look at the range, I mean, we've pretty much traded between 85 to 616 for quite some time, 4 hours or so. So we have 10 seconds till the open. We want to see how we're going to react. Potentially going to look to see if we get back under this prior high. Here's the open. Here's the volatility coming in. And it's just going to run for the highs, it seems. Very possible it's going to run for the highs. So we have this first fair value gap right here. Let's see what we're going to do with it. Maybe we just take off with that. Yeah, literally. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't really love the upside lately. Something about this market. Something, it's not my favorite. Just kind of grinding. I don't really like this. I'm very much in the mindset of wanting to see it just pull back into some sort of structure. We did get that yesterday. All right, we did get this test. That was good. So maybe this is the fair value gap we pull back into to then get long. It just doesn't feel like the move. I don't know how to put it. Feels like these gaps right here are going to get inverted. Hmm. Very interesting price action. So obviously we do see a little bit of momentum to the upside. The 5 minutes pretty clear. You can see it. 30-second chart, you see a bit of a validation of that order block. You also see the fair value gap there. Bit of a deeper dig, but it did really just kind of test this lower level right here. So to say the least, I mean, it's somewhat interesting price action, right? I think the overall structure is a bit challenging, I guess, in a lot of ways. I mean, you did have obviously this test right here of the fair value gap on the 30-minute, which was a pretty clean setup. But outside of that, this action is just very small ranges, if you will, very grindy, not a lot of displacement. This is the first displacement I've seen this week so far. So we're just going to kind of play it by feel. We're going to see what actually develops here. It's likely that we can set up something into 10 a.m. So we're not necessarily going to jump in the first thing we see. I'm going to try to get a feel for what price is actually doing. Because I feel up here where we're at in terms of all-time highs, I feel like I do not have much context on what's going to happen. And I think that's like the most tricky part. When you're like with all of this right here has been extremely challenging to how I look at price. Because what I like to see happen, I like to see some sort of lows be met and then you tag into it for us to then go higher. We're not doing that. So whenever this happens, it gets a little hard to read because it really reduces my ability to anticipate what's going to happen. But part of that is, we are at all-time highs. We're at all-time highs, so nobody really knows what's going to happen. So there's your test of the second fair value gap right here. These tests are happening so quick that I really I can't even do anything with them. It tested, then it's already at the highs. Like price just stays glued to the top of the screen and it's a bit tricky. So hopefully into 10 a.m. we get something clear. As it stands right now, I can't really do much. So, welcome in everybody. We're going to keep watching this through the JOLTS news release. I mean, obviously there's some bullish structure that's been developing. We're above the prior day high. We're at all-time highs. So there's a lot of confluence as to why we need to continue higher. However, I'm not finding an entry that I like. I'm not seeing anything that makes sense to me. Yeah. This is it's going to keep drifting higher. Um just given the fact that we're at all-time highs. So we can walk through some examples. We'll see what we have right here. Basically, what we're looking at is there's a couple levels, right? A couple gaps that were formed. As it stands, at most I could have made 2R with this entry right here. Very doubtful I would have gotten anywhere in this wick. But it's like, what am I aiming for? I don't see any sort of manipulation that I can use as some sort of standard deviation. It's just higher, right? Like it's just higher. I don't have any sort of context that I can use. So it's a bit challenging. You have to get creative with how you're looking at price. Alrighty, so about 10 minutes into the day, we are going to be watching for the next 20. We're going to see what's going to happen into Jolts. The news release, that's typically a heavy hitter, so it would not be surprising if we got a trade after that. All right, let's see what we got. So we're forming a bit of a swing point. Hopefully, we get some sort of pullback. We could look at this inverse right here and try to take this. The only problem is every single short in these types of markets just gets run over. And we don't have any level to work with. So by definition, it's just not a high probability trade. It'd be an overextension play back down to maybe here, 570. So you can make the argument that it makes sense. It's just very tricky. It's very challenging because it's just this perpetual drift higher. It sells off a little, then one candle, it's at highs. It never pulls back. And it's that drift higher. So right here, then watch it'll go quite quickly most of the time. So, but to me, this is the only thing that makes sense is just trading back towards something. I mean, sure, yes, you did have this sweep right here. That's probably a missed opportunity. So the 2-minute looks like. Yeah, I feel like the moment you get short right here, it's just going to bounce on you. It looks like it's working so far. Try this out for size. Okay, now we're trading back towards that initial order block that we saw. So this is a good indication so far, but you got to ask, where is it going to find support? Where is it going to bounce? That's like really going to be our main concern, because if this thing just starts to bounce on us, then obviously we don't want to be, dragged through the coals, if you will. I do think that this pre-New York kind of run up I do think that that is indicative of maybe a false move, right? So we're just going to try to bring this back down into the range. As far as longs go, I don't see anything that makes sense. There's no entry that could have been in that quick. So right now we're just trying to see if we can fade these eager longs right here. But it's still a pretty challenging area to kind of deal with, because you don't necessarily have defined structure, right? Maybe here, look, see, what are we kind of working with in terms of a counter signal? So right here, yeah, we got to work past this 50% of the range. Boom. So we don't want to bounce here. So this is like your Asia consolidation right here. And then you have this breakout, you have the sweep lower, and then now you have this expansion above. The question is whether this is going to be a fake out or not, right? So if we look at like the 30-minute, for instance, you see this big wick. We're expecting this to kind of close back into the range, you know, obviously into here. See, that would be the level right there. So if we get this to close back into the range, then we have a good chance at this being the start of like a reversal. Because we're above here, we're above here. This is not real VWAP. That's just that. So yeah, you're seeing it start to want to reach, but the question is, will it? Right? This is obviously an area where it could start to bounce. We'll get the fibs up and stuff so we can see. Yeah, so see it's pulling back into that 61.8. This longer deep bottom wick is a pretty tricky thing to deal with. So the question is, can we get the continuation to the downside? Ideally, we look at this initial fair value gap right here prior to the open. And ideally, we see it start to get dug into. Now, here's the thing. Right here would not be a terrible entry for a long, but I am mindful of this wick right here. So I'm thinking, even though it looks good, it could easily work its way through. So we'll be mindful. If this starts to bounce really quickly, then we'll probably just cut it. I'm trying to see if we can get us to walk through this gap, basically. See, we're starting to get that heavier 1 minute chart. Could get rid of VWAP. We know VWAP's not right there. It's lower. So this is the premise. This giant wick rallies, closes back in the range. If we get the flip, then we're in a good spot. And then the idea is just trade back towards this Asia area. Something like that. So it's digging, right? It's digging pretty deep. It's just, can it close is the question. We need it to close. Looks good so far. That 30-minute candle is quite insane, if you ask me. Looks quite crazy. So all month we'll be trading the top one futures accounts. Probably do a giveaway tomorrow. So keep that in mind, guys. We'll probably be doing an account giveaway tomorrow. I'll have more info on that. Have you guys fill something out, get some accounts out to you guys. We'll be doing that a couple times a month, a couple times a week. It depends, really. We'll see. We'll gauge it. Still new to this whole live streaming thing. So if you're enjoying the stream, leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know how you're doing. Tell me what you're looking at trading. we're sitting pretty in this short right now. It's working in our favor, but obviously, things can change really quickly. I do think this is a good entry that we took. We were real patient with it. We waited for this structure to kind of get inverted. And now it looks like that 30-minute candle did flip on us in our favor, of course. We go to the 1 minute. Really does look like we're in a good spot for the short. So we'll just see if we can get that trade back down to Asia, essentially the Asia range. So I moved stop in profit. This short's looking really nice. If you're following this trade for any reason, if it's something that made sense to you and you decide to do it on your own, I would consider 572 as an okay target, right? I'm going to hold it for Asia low. That's just me. More than likely, right? I'm not a mind reader. I don't know what I'm actually going to do. I know what I'm intending to do, but obviously if it starts to invalidate, I can pull it off earlier. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to trail it a little bit in profit so I don't ruin my day if it's not a trade that works. But yeah, so starting to get the move. Question is whether or not we get the fill, right? So this trade's been pretty solid, pretty good trade so far. And hopefully we just finish off the stream really quick with a nice $600 win to start the day. You really cannot complain when price invalidates highs like that. It's exactly what we were looking for. I really could not ask for a better trade. So what I'm going to do again is probably trail this just a tiny bit, but we need to just get the fill. Can we get the fill? So where are we at right now? I mean, it should give us the fill. Let's see it. Let's see it. This has been a nice move lower. Nice move lower. It'd be a bummer if we didn't get the fill. We'll let it work. We'll let it work. We can't rush great things. The stops trailed, right? If I get trailed out, then so be it. There's really nothing I can do. And it's seeming like that might happen. It seems like that might happen. So yeah, if you like the trade idea, trade logic, leave a like. That was a pretty banger trade, not going to lie, guys. We're definitely up over 2R. I think the trail's at 2R. I'm really just hoping for that last leg. If we can get that last leg, we get that fill, this is going to be a great start to the day. So let's just see if we can get this fill. The question is if we're going to dig back here first or not. That's what I'm concerned with. I just want to see it go. One more. Come on. The problem is we're dealing with these fair value gaps right here, and this market is extremely bullish and wants to bounce on every single opportunity it has to bounce. I don't think I'm going to give it more room. Maybe like $20 or something, like 230. This is really, really, really persistent. Can we get the fill is the question. That 30-minute is looking quite crazy. I would hope for it just to give me that one last leg. One last leg. We got within like 5 points of it or something. Yeah, like 8 points of it. We were just right there. 56 to 48, yeah. Can we get the last leg, guys? What do you think? This is quite the nail biter. The problem is when you make an extended move like this, I'm starting to consider these as potential areas where people might be looking for the long, right? This is a quite exaggerated move. Let's see what the 5 minute looks like. The 5 minute is not my friend right now. So this is just looking like a sweep below the open just to reverse. This is actually quite annoying. So we'll see if we get the fill. We'll let it roll. Any sort of push towards the lows like this right here, I'm actually going to probably just trail a little more, take my extra money. But we want the fill. We want the lows. Give us one last push towards the lows. We got 1 minute left on this 5 minute candle. And then that puts us 5 minutes before jolts. Now, I do not think this is going to give it to us. It seems like it wants to fight. It wants to fight for the bulls. So quite the nail biter. It's an unfortunate thing when you get this close to a target and it might not give it to you. But hey, that's trading. That's the beauty of this. So all we're doing is minimizing what we give back. I can't do anything right here. I have to deal with whatever happens. And right now we're seeing bullish structure develop. So great trade or not, sometimes it just doesn't give you the exit. Anywho, let's just see if we get it. See if we get it. Just needs to reject here. We got 8 seconds. Yeah, it's really not going to give it to us. This thing is so insane. We have really one last shot right here before 10 a.m. Let's see if we can hold bearish. If we run that wick, the trade's ours. Again, guys, we're looking for that 600 level right here. There's $600 profit. That'd be 548 as a target. Really just trying to trade back towards this Asia consolidation. We stopped pretty much deadbolts on a fair value gap, a bullish gap from the 15, and now we're fighting for dear life to stay above that. I want to see one last leg lower. I do believe the market can do it. It's quite resistant though. At least we're seeing that we did now invert this initial gap. So this looks good to me. This looks good. Don't want to jump the gun, but I do think we're kind of getting there. Alrighty, if we could finish off strong. I hope you guys are enjoying the stream. I hope you guys like the breakdown, showed you exactly where I got in, the one entry I took for the session, and how I'm managing it, and also how I'm dealing with the frustration of it, I guess, right? The mental side of it. How am I thinking about what price is doing? How am I willing to accept this over that? What outcome am I looking for, right? As it currently stands, this might taking it off right here might be the best option, just because we're not getting that leg lower. So we're going to consider that. We're going to greatly consider that. I think once we push below 570, we're going to trail it a little more like this. You see what I mean? Trail a little more. I think this is a good move. Because number one, if it's not just going, then we need to be out of the trade. And then number two, if it does reverse, we make a little more. I don't like trailing with a 30-second chart normally, but I mean, I don't really have much options here with the structure. So we're up 440 in open profit. We have a trail at 338. We're looking for that 600 down at 548 on the chart. How you doing, my boy? Welcome into the stream. Yeah, I mean, hey, that's just how it goes, I guess. All right, so we're up, I don't know, $400 or something. 340 or something. Fun stuff. So you got, yeah, 334 on the day. Cool. 334 on the day. I think I'm done. That actually kind of irritated me. That actually really kind of irritated me. So I think we're good. Chart executions. We're gonna make this points as well. So with some things you can do, if you're not familiar with Project X, I trade with Top One Futures. You get instant funded. You see the discount on the screen, 55% off end of summer sale. Part of the reason why I love the platform, like genuinely, the reason this is my favorite platform to trade on is because of things like that. You can change it to the settings to points. You can see whether or not your open profit is in ticks, points, dollars. And aside from that, you can also set out lockout features. So we just profited on the day. We're up 330. That's a good trading day. I think I'm done. I think I'm done. We got trailed right here. We made the most of it. So what we can do is you can go up here, hit lockout, and we can go all day. Lockout, boom, I'm done. I don't have to worry about doing nothing stupid. Yeah, awesome. I'm glad to hear you guys are catching wins. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for checking out the stream. We're going to give it a couple more minutes. We're going to watch 10 a.m. Hey, man, you got to love when the entries are that clean. You got to love when the entries are really that clean. So this is, I would say, pretty good day with executions. I mean, you really can't complain with that. So what I'm going to do here is, if you guys can see, I'm taking a screenshot of this. I take a screenshot of the executions. I throw that in my journal. I throw that in my Notion. If you do not use Notion, I definitely recommend it. Join the Discord. Down in the description, you should see a link for the free Discord. I give that stuff away for free. So that's pretty much what I'll do in a second. But we're going to watch this. We got 30 seconds till the news, till jolts, till we probably break new lows, honestly. If I had to guess, I'm going to bet on lows. Let's see in the comments, in the chat. What do you guys think? Are we going up? Are we going down? Let's hear it. What do you think? What do you think? Nothing. Nothing yet. Wow. Just holding it. It's going to drop, I think. Interesting. Alrighty. So we have a little bit of time. We're going to hang out for a little bit, keep you guys hanging out, keep you guys entertained. Well, let's kind of break down what we saw today. So, based on a handful of reasons, my initial bias was not looking for the upside. I was more inclined to believe that this was some sort of manipulative move. I know a lot of people like to use that word, but in my mind, I'm looking at this type of action when I see a big rally after not only just a rally in the open, we also have to consider what we did overnight. So let me draw your attention to the 15-minute chart. Look at this. To me, right here now, this is starting to constitute a change in state. What does that mean? Well, to be frank, it is just a simple reversal. It's a type of pattern. It's a type of trade. But what we had here is obviously we rallied above, we swept these highs, and then now we're returning into the range. I'm thinking that we need to, it's not that I'm thinking. The fact is, when we look at higher time frame structure, we haven't ran for really any of these lows. And this has been quite problematic for the style of trading that I like. If you guys can recall back in February, we had a very March, we had a very similar situation where these trends did not want to sweep any of these previous highs. Now, that's not the end of the world. However, for me and my type of trading, it's not something that I enjoy. I do not like the inability to enter on some sort of manipulation above a previous high. Same thing goes with the longs and the previous lows. So these ultra monotone, these monolithic trends, these just giant walls of price, gets hard for me to trade. It just does. I like to trade around structure. So when we do not have the internal sweep to trade with, I have to start to think, okay, what is going to be the external? Which brings me to a day like today. Yesterday, sure, I thought we would get the short. I thought we'd continue. Nope, wrong. They wanted to run it back one more time. Cool, that's fine. What we did then was we started to dissect the 15-minute chart. And we see all these pushes. These pushes by themselves, you think the previous one, whatever, it could probably work here. Then you get this one on the open. You go, okay, that one's different. That one's different. Let's actually look to trade that. So that's what I was thinking today. And essentially that's the trade we got. So I'm still in a cash position. I'm out of my my top one account. I'm out flat for the day. So that's kind of what we were looking at. But hopefully that breakdown kind of resonates with you, makes sense to you. If that type of stuff helps you out, definitely let me know in the comments. And yeah, any other thoughts you have on the stream, always feel free to let me know. Doing what I can to make it better every day. Very soon, plan on having music here as well. You know, actual like cool music, something chill. But for now, we got these built-in music on the platform. So if this is the 15-minute change in state, I do expect this to run longer. Alrighty, let's see this. Let's see what we got. So we're coming into the lows. We're getting a bit of that H pattern. You guys don't know? Well, let me introduce you to the alphabet. What we have here, look at this chart. We have a big line sell-off, right? Big sell-off. And then you get this little pink, little H. So you get that H pattern. So when we start to make new lows, that's the trigger of that idea. Obviously, we took our trade up here. You know, we're not going to wait until low a day to short. This is the index, of course. We can be a little more preemptive with it. But basically, we got the bulk of the move. So 24 to 82, 40 something points, whatever. Not my best, not my worst, right? It could have been a little, we could have held out for a little more, but I didn't want to give back as much as it was asking. So I took that earlier stop at 82. Because the last thing you want on a day like this is for it to go back to break even. Last thing you want. We're just looking to see if this will materialize through low a day. And then from there, we can see if we're going to potentially continue into the end of the week, right? We got to start to consider at some point, sorry guys, at some point the party is going to be over where there's going to be a bigger amount of pullback, right? We can't just go up forever. It's not a possibility. We're not going to do it. So start to consider this. Look at here, weekly chart, boom. Yeah, at some point we got to get a down week. We got to get something. So back down to the 23K at some point would be nice. I'll show you kind of why I'm thinking that at some point. Really, you just have all these lows. So any sort of pullback is meaningful. It will do a lot for market structure. It will allow us to have a better opportunity to get long for the future. To me, this is just blasting the top. I have a really hard time buying here for a lot of reasons. So looks like we're seeing that move through low a day. Look at this 15. Yeah, is that what we're looking at? Yeah, look at this 15. This right here, guys, I need you guys to write this down. This is your change in state. So when you have a sweep above these highs like this, right? Very clean cut, very, very flat top. Boom. Great call, though. I think it was a great call today on that. On the short, I think it was a really good short. And now we're approaching midnight open. So this is our next reference point to the downside right here. This 40 something. Midnight open price Eastern time. You have Asia right here as well. And then you get into the prior day low and the new week gap and all that good stuff. So we have downside references. Change of state, in my opinion, I do think this is super, super beautiful right here. I agree with you. I agree 100%. Nice change in state. Easy money. So the question is whether we confirm or not, right? It seems like we're holding below. See if we get those closes. Yeah, simple H pattern. Gotta love this stuff. So cool stuff today on the stream. Hang out for a couple more minutes and then bounce off here. 45 minutes on the day. Up $330 something on the day for the Top One Futures account that we're trading. If you guys have not already checked out Top One Futures, link in description. 55% off and a summer sale. Feel free to check it out. Use the code DTA. Will save you the most. Get you the biggest discount possible. So yeah, good work today. Hopefully you guys learned something. Hopefully you guys got some value out of seeing the real-time breakdowns and logic behind each trade. And also just the reality of it. Sometimes you don't get the full move. Sometimes you do. Is what it is. I'm cool with the outcome. Yeah, that's fine. Alrighty, till next time, guys. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll be back all week into next week and the week after. We'll be pretty much running this through August into maybe September. Daily streams, just hit it hard all summer. Cap out the year strong. If you guys did not take a trade already, stay safe. Use your best judgment. And until next time, we will talk tomorrow. Take care and always decipher the algo.